2024 is almost here, you guys. So these are the 24 books that I'm hoping to read in 2024. Hello and welcome to another video. My name's Ian. This is Ian the Reader. Welcome back. Hope you're having a great day. And for those of you in the US, happy Thanksgiving week. I am already thinking about 2024. While 2023 has been a really great year for reading in that I've read a ton of books, this will actually be the most books I've read in a year, a little bit over 150 books most likely by the end of December. I did not get to a lot of the books that I was really hoping to get to. It was more of just a mood reading year. I did read some really fantastic books, but a lot of the goals that I set for myself just didn't end up coming to fruition in 2023. So for 2024, I'm keeping it really simple in that this is my only goal, is to read these 24 books. I don't necessarily plan or anticipate to read all 24 of them, but my goal is to prioritize getting to these books. Without any further ado, let's jump into the 24 books I hope to read in 2024. These are in no particular order. I just have them on a little cart here, and I'm going to pull them off and start talking about them. First up, we have The Brief Wondrous Life of Oscar Wilde by Junot Diaz. So I've heard some really good things about this book. It actually won the Pulitzer Prize, and it is beloved by pretty much everybody who's read it as far as I know. I have not heard a lot of negative feedback regarding this book. Very excited about reading this, hopeful that I will love it. Then we have Another Country by James Baldwin. I have yet to read any James Baldwin. I have like 3 or 4 of his books on my shelf, and this is just the one that I'm really hoping to get to the most. Overall, I actually don't know a whole lot about this. It's just praised as one of his most incredible books. It was between this and Go Tell It on the Mountain that I was trying to decide which one I wanted to read, and I ended up going with Another Country. Ultimately, I'll be happy if I read any James Baldwin in 2024, but the plan is to read this one. Next up is Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. I have heard incredible things about this book. It is a work of historical fiction that follows 4 generations of a Korean family, I believe, as they go throughout the early 1900s and beyond, facing a lot of adversity. This has an adaptation that's gotten quite a bit of praise as well. I've heard it is very moving and powerful and just an incredible historical fiction read, so I'm very excited to read Pachinko in 2024. Next is As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. I planned on reading Faulkner this year, and it just didn't happen. So I will get through this. This will be one of the first books I read in 2024 because I have to read William Faulkner. I'm an English major and I haven't read William Faulkner. I'm sorry. Next is one of my most intimidating but most exciting, hopeful, planned reads for 2024. That is Shogun by James Clavell. If there was ever a time to read this book, it is now, as the miniseries adaptation is coming in February, I believe. So I'm hoping to read this before then. I don't know if I will because it's very large and there are others of these books that I was hoping to get to first, but we'll see. I do want to read this really badly, though. I've heard incredible things about it. I think it could be a book that I absolutely adore, but it's large. Next up, Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. I totally butchered that name and I am very apologetic over it. I am so excited about this book though. It sounds incredible. It is basically a dystopian world where the prison system is used as a form of entertainment, like gladiator style, where like prisoners, I believe, can like win their freedom by competing in this gladiator-esque tournament and coming out on top at the end of it. And it is like a criticism of our for-profit prison systems, and I am so excited about this. It sounds intelligent, but also enthralling and exciting and action-packed, which, like, I love books that manage to be very literary while also being incredibly compelling, so Chain Gang All-Stars is high on my list of books to read in 2024. Next is a very exciting one for me, that is Circe by Madeline Miller. I haven't read a Madeline Miller book, and it was between this one and Song of Achilles, and I have Circe already, so Circe it is, but man, the praise and hype for Madeline Miller's books is like astronomical, and I cannot wait to read this and hopefully sing the praises of her works as well. I love Greek mythology retellings, and this is one, and I'm hopeful that I will adore it. Also, I just found this bookmark in this used book, so that's cool. Then we have The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I knew who this was by. I don't know why I had to look at it. I love this edition, though. Look at this cool cover. Isn't that beautiful? I think it's so stunning, and I don't really have anything to add to this book. You know, if you don't know what The Handmaid's Tale is about, look it up. I am probably the last person on earth to read this book, and I'm very excited to finally get to it. Next is David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I have meant to read this for a very long time, and I've read like the first 100 pages twice and really enjoyed it. It's just I am intimidated by large books, and I'm a coward. That's the goal for 2024, is to stop being a coward. Let's do it. Next is a very exciting fantasy book that I might actually end up getting to in 2023 if I can't hold myself back from it. That is The Will of the Many by James Islington. however you say his name. The hype for this book, you guys, is unreal. I feel like this is like the most hyped fantasy book to come out in 2023, aside from like Fourth Wing or whatever. Just the reviews for this are insane. I feel like so many people love it. It's Roman Empire inspired, kind of feels like Red Rising with like a magic school almost type feeling. Like, what's not to love? I feel like this is going to be amazing. Cannot wait to read it. It might happen before 2024. We'll see. Next is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I did read an R.F. Kuang book this year, Yellowface, and I really did enjoy it. I had some criticisms of it, but I think Babel is going to be a big hit for me. It was actually on my books to read for 2023, and I didn't get to it because, like I said, mood reader year, but the goal is to try to stay on track this year, and I think Babel is going to be a 5-star read. I'm very hopeful for this one. If you've read this, let me know if I'm right. Next is The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. My favorite book of all time is East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and while I've read a handful of Steinbeck's other books, I have not read another long book by him, and so I'm hopeful that The Grapes of Wrath will be absolutely incredible. I don't think that East of Eden will be toppled as my favorite book of all time because the themes in that book just resound with me very strongly, but I'm hopeful that The Grapes of Wrath is full of beautiful writing and moving characters, just like East of Eden is. Speaking of beautiful writing and moving characters, Song of Solomon by Toni Morrison. It has been over a year since I've read a Toni Morrison book, and it is time to read another one. One of my favorite books of all time is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison, and I've heard really good things about Song of Solomon as well. I actually wasn't crazy about Beloved, which maybe it was just my hype for it because it's considered like maybe her best book of all time. I like The Bluest Eye quite a bit more, and I'm hopeful that Song of Solomon will at the very least fall in between The Bluest Eye and Beloved for me as far as enjoyment goes, but it could be better than Bluest Eye. We'll see. Next is a chunky book that is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I've actually been putting this off for years and years and years. I love Piranesi by this author, and this is very different than Piranesi in that it's like 5 times as long, but I will read it this year. My aunt and I are actually going to be buddy reading this and starting on the 1st of January, so before anything else, I will read this book. Next is Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. So I've had this book for a while and it's kind of been on my radar, but then like the other day I saw a review for it on TikTok that just snagged my attention. And so this is a very high priority book for me. I have yet to read anything by this author, but I've heard incredible things, and I'm very hopeful that Americana will be a 5-star book for me. Next is Cutting for Stone by Abraham Verghese. I actually have been really wanting to get to this author this year. I bought this book, and you can see it over there, The Covenant of Water, this author's newest book this year, and I was hoping to get to this year. I even started it, but I just don't think it's going to happen in 2023, so this is high on my priority list for 2024. Hopefully within the first few months, probably after Jonathan Strange and after Shogun, I will get to this book, but I'm excited. It has beautiful writing, and I've heard that it's just a powerful story, so very excited to read Cutting for Stone. Next is the only Stephen King book that I have on this list, and that is Needful Things. I really want to read this book. I love the Castle Rock novels. I love Castle Rock as a setting, and this has originally been pitched as the final Castle Rock book. Obviously, there have been some stories that have taken place in Castle Rock since then, but I have really, really high hopes for Needful Things. It just sounds super good, and yeah, I'm ready to return to Castle Rock for a explosive finale, supposedly. Next is Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. This was on another TBR list for me for 2023 that I failed at. That was 12 books recommended by 12 of my favorite booktubers. I don't want to talk about it, but this book I really do want to read in 2024. I did read No Country for Old Men by this author this year. It was one of my family's buddy reads for Q3, I think. And we all really enjoyed it. Not as much as I thought we would, but I think Blood Meridian is viewed as like his best novel, so I have high hopes for Blood Meridian. I'm scared. I've heard it's very violent and dark, but I can enjoy that. Next is Iron Lake by William Kent Kruger. This Tender Land by this author was one of my favorite books of 2022. I adore that novel. And he has like a 19-book series featuring this one character, Cork O'Connor. And so I want to get into that. This is the first book, Iron Lake. There's also a prequel, which I do own, but I've been recommended to start with the original first book and just go in publication order. So Iron Lake it is. Very excited about this. Another series I want to start in 2024 that I meant to start in 2023 is, I don't actually know what this series is called, but the first book is called A Drink Before the War. It's by Dennis Lehane. It follows 2 detectives. I think they're private investigators. And all you had to say was Dennis Lehane. That's really all I need to know for me to want to read it. And I'll be reading it very soon. My brothers and I are actually planning on buddy reading this book in January, so very excited about that. Then we have another author that I've been meaning to get to for a very long time, and I thought I would start small. So the author is Fyodor Dostoevsky, and I plan on reading Notes from Underground. in 2024. It's very short as compared to his other novels like Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov, which are like gargantuan. So I'm gonna start small, hopefully really enjoy this book. It's by translators that I really enjoy, Pevier and Volokhonsky, and so I think I'll like it. I hope I'll like it. We'll find out. I also really want to read more nonfiction in 2024, so I did include one nonfiction book on this list. I do hope to read a lot more nonfiction in 2024 than I have in previous years, but this is one of the #1 books that I hope to get to, and that is The Devil in the White City by Erik Larson. So really, you can put any Erik Larson book here. I just want to try Erik Larson, and this is probably his most popular book, and it sounds the most intriguing to me right now. I may end up replacing it with one of his other books, but I really want to read some Erik Larson and more nonfiction books in general, and I've heard this is really, really good. Then we have Gilead by Marilynne Robinson. So this is supposed to be one of the greatest novels written in the 21st century. I've seen it either at the top or near the top of many lists of that kind, and I want to read it and find out if I feel the same way about it. It is pretty short, and I've tried listening to the audiobook, but it feels like a book that I want to kind of read and digest slowly and read physically, so I'll read this in 2024 at some point and let you guys know if it's as amazing as people say, at least in my opinion. And the final book on my 24 books to read in 2024 is World Without End by Ken Follett. The Pillars of the Earth was probably either my favorite or second favorite book that I read in 2023, and it's in my top 5 favorite books of all time, so obviously I want to read the continuation of the series with World Without End. The reason that I'm including this one on here when I haven't put any other like continuations of series, because there are some series I do plan on continuing in 2024, but the reason I put this on this list rather than like a series video is because these really act like as standalones with a continuing story of this city of Kingsbridge, because I believe this takes place at least 100 years after the Pillars of the Earth, so none of the same characters are going to be in it. It's not a continuation of their story as much as it is the town and the cathedral and all that, so it almost feels like you could read this on its own, so that's why I included it on this list. But I have very high hopes for this because the Pillars of the Earth is incredible, so if it's half as good as that book, I'll really enjoy it. But that's it. Those are the 24 books that I plan on prioritizing in 2024. Of course, I plan on reading some more books aside from that. These are all books that I own physically. That's really my #1 goal for 2024, is to read books that I own physically, because these 2 shelves are all books that I own and I have not read. These are ones that I have read. So clearly I have a lot of work to do as far as that goes. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you read any of these books, if you think that I'll enjoy any of these books, or what your priority books are for 2024, which is fast approaching, you guys. So get on your TBRs. It's coming real quick. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.